welcome. This is Fever Dreams podcast.
Welcome to Fever Dreams.
2, episode 5, and total episode 11. We're recording this live on May the 16th, 2021. I'm your host, Corbin78. This is my co-host,
Cypher
Orion, not Crindash. And last time it was Crindash, not Cypher. I messed that up. But we have a special guest. I always mix that up. DrSaphira is here with us. So hello. Welcome.
Hello.
Are you a real doctor?
Yeah, not a medical doctor, but I have a doctorate, yes.
That makes you a real doctor.
Yes.
Yeah. Academic
One
grade.
of the few people on Twitch that actually can justify putting doctor in their title.
That's awesome. Awesome. That's a huge accomplishment. Congratulations.
Thank
That was
you.
a lot of hard work.
Oh gosh, yeah. It's took a lot to get to this point, that's for sure.
We can talk about that a little bit. So what kind of doctor is it? It's not a medical, we heard that, but...
Yeah. Doctor of Biochemistry is essentially my title, but I work in a lot of different kind of aspects of biology. So I use physical techniques, I use chemistry as well. So we get to play, at the moment I get to play with electron microscopes a lot, which is good fun.
Oh, cool.
Using high intense beams of electrons to view I can say proteins, but most people won't think of proteins the same way I do. But we use it to view proteins at an atomic scale. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's cool.
I think it's really fascinating stuff. I'm always looking up like YouTube videos on different stuff. Like Smarter Every Day has a lot of different, different topics that he covers, and I think he covers one where they're looking at a butterfly's wing in an electron microscope, and it's just this like gray landscape of dust, essentially. That was really cool.
Those kind of images are always fascinating. But we actually go even deeper than that. So you get your images like that where you see every single detail of the surface structure. But we then go even further in and look at the proteins that make up that structure. So
I think that's awesome.
That's pretty awesome. It sounds awesome, but it's actually a bit of a pain in the ass. It's a nightmare.
Well, I would imagine if you had, well, once you have the information there, then you can take that and then bring it to like a team of programmers or whatever, and then build simulations of it and things like that.
We use a lot of deep learning techniques, AI. We have a massive GPU cluster. We'd like a lot of 3090s or in there, but we've got about 15 2080 Ti's in this GPU cluster.
That's where the shortage is coming from, I see.
Yeah.
It's not for the miners. No, it's used for research. It's even useful. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
How do you think they fund the research? I'm sure one or two of those are crunching some numbers on a different end of the spectrum. I'm just kidding. I'm sure.
Oh, cool. I just remember.
So some of those potentially also crunching numbers for like folding at home? Is that one of some of the research that goes on with the stuff that you're doing, or is that more just internal stuff that you're all using? Are you familiar with what folding at home is?
No. I was about to ask.
Interesting.
What do you mean by that?
Okay, folding at home, and NVIDIA was promoting this toward the beginning of the big push for the vaccines for the pandemic. But it's a distributed researching cluster where you can download this app called Folding at Home, and it folds proteins, or it simulates folded proteins, and it takes different chunks of workloads and things, and basically uses the entire world as a cluster computer as opposed to just having one small cluster. I was just curious if you'd have.
I haven't dabbled in that myself, but I have heard of that. It's essentially just utilizing people's personal computers to get as much data as we can on how proteins fold. Is build up a series of predictions over and over based on known protein structures.
I remember
Yeah.
that starting with SETI at home. And I think the SETI at home project
SETI, yeah.
was then transitioned to something that's called BOINC or so. I think that was the successor.
Is that the one?
EOINC. BOINC.
Yeah, okay. That sounds
I don't know if
familiar.
that's a word for that. And
It's no
later,
longer the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, it's BOINC.
and there was, I mean, this was just the technique to distribute the client to all the people, and they can choose which program they want to support. If it's SETI, if it's folding at home, or Rosetta is also another one.
Yeah.
There are some of these, and I also spent some of the of my GPU power for folding the a cure for COVID stuff, and there has been even a nice homepage where you could see your ranking, how much power you contributed, how much units you got done and stuff. And so there's a little competition going on. Who can contribute more GPU power and stuff? Who has the fastest GPU, etc. So that's really cool.
But it's not only for curing COVID and viruses, things like that. They have it for cancer research too, and several other topics also. Like I think was cystic fibrosis, and I can't remember the name of it right now. But
you can pretty much guarantee that most diseases, at the protein level, there is a malfunctioning protein that is contributing to that disease.
Tiny malfunctioning organic little machines.
Yep.
Get that work done.
Microbots.
I find it very interesting that this folding, that because the molecules are moving all the time and then fitting together each time a little bit different, and that you can simulate that, but there must be so many possibilities how you can do that, because I mean the molecule is consisting out of several atoms, and each of them is like moving around, and each could move in a different phase at a certain time. So, oh gosh, this must be so much work.
Yeah. There's usually, there's like, I assume, like amino acids are what make up the sequence of the protein, and what that sequence is then determines how the protein folds, because each amino acid has different interactions with other amino acids. Some repel, some bring them towards each other, and that's how it kind of like manipulates the shaping of the protein. But there is a degree of flexibility in terms of some proteins will have one part where it always folds exactly the same way every time, and then other proteins will have one part where it can be completely different each time, and it's really difficult to predict.
That sounds like programming. That sounds like programming, but like when you're working with a team of like 16 different people, but those 16 different people are constantly changing.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's what it sounds like to me when you're dealing with that kind of stuff. Wow.
Yeah. Biology is complicated.
How large is your team, if I can ask?
So I actually work in this like a synergy group. So it's actually 3 independent labs that work together on the same project. So I work with 5 other people on my team, and then we have like another group that's like 6 people, and then another group that's 5 people, and we all kind of like go to each other's labs and use everyone's equipment.
Tight-knit groups of teams that know how the workflow works, and then you just kind of hop around. I like it. That's really effective.
We all work on slightly different aspects of the same project, essentially. So using different techniques and approaches to answer our questions.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Especially it's cool that the modern techniques like GPUs are used for that, or are useful for that.
Yes.
My question is though, do you get their special GPUs then? Because you don't need to put out or to attach any monitors to it. So are those special cards you get from them?
Generally not. We usually just go for the standard consumer, whatever the top one is in consumer market.
Usually those other ones,
usually
like the Tesla GPUs are
it's
10 times the
I mean,
pricey.
it's usually only like what happens is like on our scale, we can only really get hold of those standard consumer GPUs. Whereas if you have a big, heavily funded center like a synchrotron, they've probably got a GPU cluster there where you can access those, the fancier GPUs. But you have to essentially apply for access. So it's a lot harder. It's not a case of we don't have those in where we are. We just have to make our GPU clusters out of whatever we can get a hold of, basically.
Sure.
Makes sense.
I see.
Pretty much like everyone else at this stage without lots of money.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. So we can apply to use like the more higher powered GPU clusters, but generally they're not needed. Especially with like all this deep learning and technology that we're getting now. We're actually needing less and less GPU power to do it because the cards are getting smarter.
They will always something that we can get our GPUs down with to need them more power.
Do you make use of like big clusters like the Watson cluster hosted by IBM or like any of the Amazon clusters or things like that? Or you have just like
we haven't needed to ourselves. It's just generally most research doesn't need that. I mean, yeah, it'd be nice. It'd probably speed things up by a day or something. But usually, most of our calculations can be done in a day or whatever we need.
Okay,
that's fast.
that is actually really fast.
So more work can be done, more research can be done. That's even better. So it's a cool thing in total.
Yeah, it's a rapidly developing field at the moment. Technology is changing all the time in terms of what we do and how we use it. So it's quite an interesting time to be a scientist in this field, with the technology developing constantly, getting more and more powerful microscopes, more and more powerful computers. We're getting better results. And we're able to directly observe what these proteins are doing, and how they're behaving and how they go wrong. Yeah. It's pretty cool.
So may I ask what GPU you have in your PC? Because you need some computing power for your personal stuff as well, right?
Well, I just access online, the server over the internet. But my GPU is a little 2060. It's RTX 2060. Hey, so I got the computer when the RTX series first came out a few years ago. So it was all I could afford at the time, and I haven't been able to upgrade since. So
what you're saying is when one of the 3090s from work goes missing, it wasn't you.
Yeah, I've kind of always said, like, if I, can I just, if I swap out the 2080 Ti in my work computer, maybe they won't notice.
This one's not doing a lot of workload ever, so we'll just...
No, just claim it's broken. So they are going to replace that, and it's too much of an effort to send the broken one back, so you have to take care of it, that it gets disposed, and you get a new one anyway. So that's how it works, I think.
Yeah.
Must be, absolutely.
It's also like the computer case I have on my work PC is just a standard black case with no like window, and yet inside we have fancy RGB RAM. And I'm like, can I just swap that into my PC where you can actually see it and appreciate the colors?
We all know the more RGB, the more FPS, right?
I can see you showing up to the office with a Dremel and just cutting a hole in the side of the case. Just be like, look, it's fixed. I can see it now. It's nice.
Yeah,
but then you can't take it home anymore. No. There must be a reason you can take it home. So they need those cases where you can see nothing. The scientific cases, they are not allowed to look fancy.
Professional.
Yeah.
Even though it's basically
RGB doesn't look professional.
Yeah.
I think it's a solid case for going back to less expensive RGB free equipment, because as soon as they started putting RGB stuff on everything, it went up 20%.
Yeah.
I was just like, I don't need it. I don't need the lights on this thing. It doesn't actually make it go faster.
I mean, it's the
But
same
it
for
looks
me.
good.
There was no
Totally
other
looks nice.
choice for me but getting RAM modules with RGB lights on it. I can't see them either. My case doesn't have a window, so they do nothing.
Mine has
But
holes.
there was no other.
Like there's a blue glow.
Yeah, I can look from the side and maybe see something, but in
I
general,
mean, my
not.
computer has a glass panel on it, and even then, I don't really look anyway.
No, it's just for other people to be able to look at your stuff.
Yeah.
But at home, it's
Makes you feel like a pro gamer if you've got a RGB setup.
more
And
FPS.
pretty much with the death of the LAN party, it seems kind of redundant that we have these really flashy computer cases and nobody takes them anywhere.
Death of LAN parties? No, not yet. Except
They
the
don't
last
happen
year.
around here.
We have
the last
we
2
still have
years.
some. We still have some in Germany, and I used to go to like 6 LAN parties per year, except last 2 years now. But
All
yeah,
right,
still
fine,
LAN parties
I
are
guess.
still a thing. I mean, the average age on a LAN party is getting higher and higher because all the young pro gaming kids, they stay at home and play online instead of connecting.
Yeah, they're like, why do I need to go anywhere? I got gigabit. Like,
yeah. But let's get the segue from GPUs used in a scientific environment to personal environment. And let's talk about things where we use them a lot, and that's with VR, which needs a lot of compute power as well, right?
Yes, yeah.
Zafira, you are playing in VR as well and are streaming that. So we want to hear your experiences with that. And we know all the struggles, so let us know in detail the struggle you had.
Having a 2060 and my CPU isn't amazing either, does make things a little bit more difficult sometimes. But so far I haven't hit anything that I can't play while streaming in terms of like FPS. So I mean, getting set up was a bit of a nightmare initially. Trying to figure out the best way to optimize things to get things working well enough for VR. Obviously, I tend to play a lot of rhythm games, and you need a very good FPS for that. So when it's like really bad, sometimes it's impossible to play. But usually restarting my PC helps that, so I don't know what's going on there. I don't know. Sometimes it just doesn't want to work, and sometimes it's perfect. So who knows?
Windows things. I would just claim you don't ever have to reboot Linux, but that's not really true either.
Okay. That's PC things.
Yeah, PC things.
Some capacitor gets a funny voltage in it and it just starts doing that. I don't know.
So what does your setup look like? I mean, you do have
so
the VR headset you have?
So I have the cheap, the Quest 2. So
it's a good one.
I got it pretty much when it came out last year. And I kind of figured, I mean, I know with the whole logging into Facebook thing, I already have a Facebook account, so it wouldn't make any difference to me whatsoever logging in. But actually, that was probably my best purchase last year, because it just opened up this whole new world to me at a budget that I could afford, which is what was really great about the Quest 2.
I had to also pre-order Quest 2. My CV one was dying on me. It was dying. Was that your first adventure into VR?
Yeah, so that was another reason why I went also for the cheaper headset, because I wasn't sure how well I'd take to VR, whether it'd be just a thing that I do once or twice and never touch again, or whether I get really bad motion sickness. Yeah. Luckily, none of those things happened. So, but it was also nice to kind of not fork out for a more expensive headset to then discover that it's not really for me. So it's quite nice to it's quite a nice entry point if you're new to VR, especially.
I think
so
at
is
the
it-
moment it's the best budget opportunity you have right now. I mean, the other two headsets that are available is from HTC, the Vive Pro, because the original Vive is not available anymore. And the other one is from Valve, the Index, and both are very high in price. And the Oculus Quest 2 does have the high resolution, if I'm correct. You can still connect it to your PC, but you can use it wireless and standalone as well. So how did you start using that? Were you using it from the beginning with your PC, or did you start playing it standalone first?
I have only ever used it with PC. The only time I used it standalone was when I first got it, and you play like the tutorials that are built into the headset. But then I always knew before I purchased the headset that I was going to buy all my games on Steam VR, because then it's upgrade proof. Your games are upgrade proof. You've always got those. So I've always just played through PC. I purchased a cheap link cable off Amazon, not the official cable, but it seemed to work just as well. And I started using that. But actually, I tend to use. So the problem is the charge rate when you have it hooked up to the PC isn't that great, because it's just by USB. So I started I now plug the USB into socket in the wall to keep it permanently charged, and use virtual desktop to.
Does your 2060 have a USB-C port on the back of it?
No.
Okay.
So that was also another reason why I didn't get the official link cable, because I'd had to get an adapter for it. So I thought, well, I'll just get a cable that's already got the correct.
I had the same issue with mine when I first got it, and I basically just had to test all of my USB ports, and my video card was the only one that was providing enough power to keep it running while I was playing.
I've also heard a lot of things about USB-C not being that particularly good. I've known a couple of people who've had a few issues with the USB-C port, and they had to buy another cable that was USB-A, so they can actually use the link properly without it destroying their PC, basically.
Some cheap USB-C cables are kind of dangerous because they don't have the proper resistors built into them, or they have cheap resistors, and sometimes they'll fail. So that's why it's kind of dangerous buying cheap USB-C cables.
I know someone who had the official link cable, and the first time they hooked it up, it broke one of their monitors, basically.
Oh.
Yeah. So I'm just like, oh my god, I went with the cheaper cable. It's not USB-C now.
Ouch, that hurts.
Yikes.
All right, so you got the Quest, you got the RTX card. I mean, there must be, normally you need more stuff, especially if you are going to stream. So you need probably green screen.
Yes.
Because I've seen you streaming in mixed reality, and that needs a bigger area covered in green screen. Can you tell us about that?
So setting up the mixed reality, it takes me about an hour. But my setup is temporary. I don't have the space to have a permanent setup. I don't have a room spare that I can do that in. So this is my mixed reality space. So the sofa gets pushed back. I have like a green screen that I put up on a frame, and then like a mat and another green screen on the floor, and then it's done. Always have the cameras positioned like in the corner of the room, and it just about works. It just about works.
I think that's how a majority of us started too. Just
So I have to like put it away every time.
I mean, my setup is still temporarily because I cannot occupy the living room for like when I play twice a week and occupy it for the whole week. That doesn't work. So I have to put my stuff away and back on every time as well. But that's now a routine that goes in like 10 minutes or so. An hour is pretty long for the whole setup.
I'm slow. I'm still kind of figuring it out as well.
No offense. That's just I got there's a little routine because I have a carpet that I can wind up and roll out again for the floor, and then I have a big green cloth that I attach with some clamps to the television on the one side, to the shades on the other side, and that works pretty well. So the stuff is always there. I fold it together, stow it away, and then take it out, and that's like 10 minutes, which is good enough. If it would be an hour, I think I would do it less often, I guess.
I think it's because I'm still kind of figuring out the best and easiest way to kind of do it. So I'm kind of changing things a little bit every time I set it up at the moment. So I'm still kind of figuring out the best way to set it all up. But so far,
I highly recommend having a rail.
Now. Yeah.
The rails are very inexpensive, and if you can put holes in the ceiling, they make it really convenient. You just grab it, and I would do it right now, but my bed's over there, so like just, you know.
NVIDIA broadcast will all make that blurry.
It just blurs it all out. Yeah, but it's super convenient having a railing on the ceiling if that's an option for you, because it only costs like 25 or 30 USD, and just throw it out of the way.
Yeah, that's something I'm considering doing as well.
Right on. And as we can see, for those who are watching this, you're also using an extra microphone, I think, which is from our partnered company, ModMic, which is very awesome.
Yeah.
But it's probably a coincidence. I mean, how long do you have your ModMic already?
So I've had this, I think, for about a month now.
Oh, not that long. Oh, I thought it would be longer.
No. So originally I was just kind of managing with all the like microphone I could find, so the one that's actually built into this headset. But every time I look back at the mixed reality streams, I was always really disappointed with the audio quality, and no matter what I do, I can't get it to sound good. And I was just left really kind of frustrated with the audio quality. So I kind of saved up to get the ModMic because I saw that I knew a lot of VR streamers already use it. It seems to work quite well. It sounds really good. So I figured, well, it seems like a good investment to make, as I am probably going to be continuing the VR streams for quite a long time. So, yeah,
good choice. Good. Really good choice. And that's me #sponsored saying that, but anybody that knows me knows that I'm sponsored because I like the product. So
same for me. I had the same issue when I started with the HTC Vive first. The microphone in that original one is not that good. And then I had issues getting the microphone working for me with the Vive Index first. So I was looking for a wireless solution as well. And yeah, the ModMic was the only one that I could find where people were really passionate about it and said it has good quality. It lasts quite long. When it's new, 12 hours and even longer. And yeah, there was no other possibility more or less to get a ModMic wireless. And I don't regret buying one at all yet. It's so good.
No,
and I'm using mine like 5 days a week, and it still lasts. And that's for 2 years now, I guess, or less, maybe a little bit less, but like it's close to 2 years, and it still lasts over 8 hours. So it's a pretty good product.
Yeah, I would have had it longer. I would have had the ModMic longer, but the first one I did get was faulty, but it was quickly replaced. So
they're really good about their service. Really good. If anything's wrong with it, they're like, no, let's fix that for you.
Yeah. So it took about a week for them. I think it was about 2 weeks actually for the new one replacement to arrive. But yeah, that was perfect.
Nice.
That was good.
Sounds fantastic.
And getting into VR, I mean, we all, at least those who are playing VR, know it's something you cannot explain. You have to experience it. And what was your aha effect there when you first tried it? Because you said you got that one you have now and didn't try it at all before, right?
Yeah, so I'd never ever experienced it before. I was kind of drawn in by Beat Saber. So I was seeing a lot of people play it over the last year or two beforehand. I was like, it looks so much fun. So I pretty much bought the headset just to play that initially. And then when I first like put the headset on, it was a really cool experience. It was an amazing experience. And you kind of think, oh, like beforehand I was thinking, oh, like I know I'm gonna be in a headset, it's not gonna be that great, because in my head I'm gonna know that it's not real having that kind of space around you. But when you put it on, you get so kind of
immersed.
I don't know, like, yeah, it's really immersive, and it's really strange. Like the first time as well, I had like the window open as well, and every time I felt the breeze, I actually felt like I was outside. It was really strange. But yeah, I was hooked from the first time I put the headset on. And yeah, I think I'll be hooked for a very long time to come. Probably until I'm too old to stand anymore.
It reminded me of one time I was in Beat Saber playing around with the avatars, and I only had a CB1 with controllers and I had the HMD at the time. I'm playing around with one of the avatars with my hands in my head, and then I go to move my feet, and I went, "Oh wait, I don't have trackers." Because it was just so immersive. I'm like looking in a mirror, dancing around, and oh wait, it's just one of those. Yeah.
The brain is easily tricked there, and I remember when I told that story apparently in the meantime multiple times, but still, the first time I was experiencing VR was still with the Oculus DK1, the development kit, and that had not that great resolution. It had the screen door effect very prominent and stuff, but still, your brain can get easily tricked, or your eyes at least, and you are seeing things and taking them for real because your eyes see them and your eyes think that that's what you're seeing is real.
Yeah.
Something like that. And then that's how the immersion works, I guess.
Yeah, it's really strange because I was expecting as well, because my eyesight is terrible. But I thought, oh, but it's close up, so my eyesight will be fine. And actually, the way that it works, I was amazed to see that I couldn't see when I put the headset on and actually needed my glasses on because I can't see things far away. And I was really confused initially as to why that was. Obviously, it's just how the glasses developed.
So even after you got your glasses on, did you experience this weird thing for the first like 20 minutes where you just couldn't figure out how to focus your eyes quite right? Because that was one thing for me when I first got into the VR headset. I was like, I can't. My eyes just don't want to.
Not really. I never really had an issue with that. I mean, I had issue like finding a good point to rest the headset because I wasn't. The stock strap that you get with the Quest 2 isn't that great, so it's difficult to kind of position in the right place to see clearly. That's the only problem I remember having, but I don't remember having like any weird like eye adaptation issues when I had the headset.
Maybe just me then.
Yeah, maybe.
I didn't have that issue either, to be honest. I mean, I'm normally also wearing glasses, but so the things that are far I can't see sharp, and in the headset, as those screens are very close and the lenses are very close to your eyes, I can go in the headset without glasses. So for me that works pretty well. I can see everything sharp because your eyes are not really focusing. They are just adjusting their angle like they would focus in things that are further away. But the lenses are not refocusing. The lens in your eyes is always at the same focus level, I guess. And that's apparently good enough for me, so I don't need glasses. But I
guess it then varies depending on how bad your eyesight really is. Then.
Yeah, so, I mean, for those who are wearing glasses also know that if you are wearing glasses below the headset, make sure you have some protection on your lenses, because you don't want your glasses to touch the lenses and then get scratches on them. Because if you have scratches on them, they are prominent then. They are very prominent all the time when you're looking around, because sometimes the reflection on that scratch is a little bit different and stuff, and you can see them. So that's something you have to take care about a lot.
Yeah, you do have to be very careful. But generally, I just put contact lenses in these days. It's fine.
And then in the future, we'll have contact lenses, and that's it. Contact lenses, mixed reality, XR, boom, right there. That's awesome. Can't wait for the future.
Oh, can you imagine?
It's not coming soon enough.
I mean, aren't they working on that already?
Well, I think they're going to run into the same issue they did with the Google Glass, though, because it's so covert. Like you're crossing into spy technology there, basically. Like you walk into a movie theater with your XR contacts on, record the movie, and then go home and watch it again. Like society's going to be changing because of this kind of thing. It's going to be weird. It'll be so weird.
Yeah, there is probably some technology that we are not ready for yet.
No,
not at all. Even if we can imagine having that. Yeah, let's talk about the games you're playing then in VR.
We traditionally talk about what we've been playing recently.
Yeah, this is what we've been playing in the last 2 weeks, because the podcast is every 2 weeks. So yeah, tell us about the games you have been passionate and got immersed about in the last 2 weeks, Saphira.
More recently, so I've been playing 2 games the last 2 weeks, mainly Synth Riders. I think I'm enjoying Synth Riders more than Beat Saber now, just because it requires a little bit more movement when you're playing it. And Hellblade in VR.
Cool. How do you enjoy that one?
It's really good. I'm actually quite glad I don't seem to get too motion sick from it, which is nice. Actually, I forgot to mention also another game that I tried, which everybody saw me suffer from, was Alien Isolation. So there is a VR mod that you can download, Mother VR, to play Alien Isolation in virtual reality, and it is terrifying.
I need
it is horrible.
I need to do that.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'd describe it as good. But this is also like the first time I've played a scary game of any kind. I don't normally play scary games. It was redeemed by the community. So this is also my first experience in a scary game. Yeah,
I do not do well in scary games in VR. Not even a little bit. I forgot there was this one that was free on the Oculus Store a long time ago. It's gone now, but it was like an indie title. And it starts you off in this car, right? And it's just driving down the road, and I'm sitting there in the car, and I look over, I'm just kind of looking around, and all of a sudden, this thing flashes into my view, and I look away, and then I look back, and it's there again, and I just noped out. Like 2 minutes into the game, I was just nope, I'm done with this. I can't.
Yeah, I mean, because of the immersion, you feel incredibly exposed and you feel vulnerable. Like when you play the game at a PC normally, you feel scared, but you know it's all in front of you.
Yeah.
But when you're in VR, anything could creep up behind you, and you actually like feel like it's creeping up behind you, and it's horrible.
What I cannot stand is if something is jumping at your face in VR. That's a no-go for me.
That's the worst. Because you can physically move. Because you can physically move, like I feel like you're more apt to like actually hurt yourself, try to duck away, hit your head on the wall or something.
I did have that once when the alien found me, but I closed my eyes. I closed my eyes and just went like this.
It's crazy. Look. You know nothing in the real world is touching you right now, but you see something jumping at you, and you're like, no!
It's the immersion factor again. And, you know, once we get more trackers that are standard, I think with haptics, it's going to be even worse. Because, you know, we have these haptic vests now. Can you imagine doing Alien Isolation with a haptic vest on that's like pulsing to the heartbeat that it's representing in the game, and like how scared you are in the game?
Oh,
not even like, you know, it's like,
I don't want to imagine that yet.
It's going to be terrible in the future. I can't wait.
I'll be avoiding any scary games then.
Community goals, all of them.
But let's go back a little bit to those two games especially. One question I have beforehand: did you play Half-Life Alyx already?
Not yet, no. So I purchased it recently when it was on sale, but I do plan to play it at some point.
It's one of the best VR games ever made so far. So much about that.
But yeah, I need to test how well my computer can run Half-Life, because it's also one of the most demanding games on the GPU. So I need to test it at some point and see if it will be possible to either stream it, or I might have to even just play it off stream. But we'll see. But I do want to play it.
Fools don't support Live.
Yeah, okay, but I want to talk about your experience in Shenhua, the VR port there, because you mentioned you're happy that you don't get motion sick in there. This is a game that you are not playing in first person, you're playing that in third person, so you see your character all the time. I later found out you play Shenhua also in third person on Pancake, but I didn't know that because I never played that or looked into that game that much. But I think the third person perspective with your character more or less being your fixed point for your eyes in VR, that's a good thing to help against motion sickness. And that's why I think it's working well in VR. I played through that and I enjoyed it a lot. It's a really good game. It's scary at some point, I can tell you already. I don't know if you have played it through yet.
I played it through outside of VR once.
Okay, then you know.
A little while ago. But yeah, I know there's a couple scary moments.
Yeah. It depends just how much I can talk about that game with you without spoiling. That was the question.
No, I've played the whole game through.
Okay, because later when Shenhua is...
alert.
Yeah, it can be now spoilery. I mean, the game is pretty old now, so... But still, for those who haven't played it yet, yeah, this will be a little bit spoiler content. There's one part where Shenhua is getting into the darkness, so to speak, and there is then... Like, I didn't really know what it was, but I think it was just a bunch of bodies connected somehow together with arms and legs and heads and stuff. And that's something that's chasing you, and you have to run away from it through a house, through outside along and stuff. And that's always coming after you. And oh my gosh, in VR, that thing coming close. Normally, I don't scream.
I'm
that
good
much.
on being chased by the human centipede. Okay, we're good. We're good on that.
But that feeling in VR, I like horror games, even though it amps up my pulse. But that's a very, very intense experience in Hellblade. But the game itself, it's a very well made port, because when they switch between the parts where you are playing and the parts where they play is cutscene, they are like zooming in and out, and that works pretty well. So if there's a cutscene where characters are moving and stuff, it's zooming out, so you see like a cinema. It's still three-dimensional, but it's like if you threw a cinema frame and all around is black. So you have your frame there, and that's why you probably don't get motion sick, but you still see the movement. So the camera is then moving around even, but still, you don't feel a strange feeling in your stomach because you have still this black frame that fixes the view for you. And those things
so it takes away the whole peripheral, and you're just looking at the box. Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and that makes
the same thing as vignetting. Basically, it's just
to a
little higher degree.
And I think that's a good method to help people who are suffering from motion sickness after a time, which I normally am. So when I play Boneworks, for example, I can play that for at most 2 hours, and then I have to stop, because otherwise this strange feeling of motion sickness will be in my body for like 2 hours or even longer. So getting motion sick is not a nice thing. And if there are techniques that help to mitigate that, one of those is these vignetting, for sure. And Hellblade is done very well in VR.
Yeah. Seems to be really
Accessibility
good.
options are important for a lot of people. And I think one thing that seems to be overlooked a lot is like epilepsy warnings and stuff like that. Like, and obviously not on like Beat Saber and obviously flashy games, but like less flashy games and stuff. Like almost everything has that blanket warning, like, yeah, this is VR. Hey, it's flashy, but like options for what is it? Eye condition, color blindness, and like standing and sitting stuff and those kind of things. I think developers need to keep an eye on all that stuff and try and keep that available for everyone. We were talking about what games we were playing though.
Yeah, and the other game I want to talk about is your experience in VR with the Alien mod.
Yeah.
So how does that feel? I have not played that yet because I didn't test it on Linux so far. And I would have to play. There is a native Linux version of Alien Isolation from Feral Interactive ported, which is working really well, but it doesn't have the possibility to be modded with that Windows-only mod. So I would have to play that with the Windows version, which I haven't tried yet at all. We are going to come to modding again a little bit later with GTFO, where I can tell a little bit about my experience with that game or what's good about that. And I want to know, how does the tracking of your hands and the movement work in the Mother VR mod?
It's not all fully interactive. Well, I struggled initially with the controls, but I think that's just because of how it's set up with the Oculus layout. So sometimes you'll press one thing, but it actually does two things, which was a bit of a nightmare. Oh. So I had to kind of change that a little bit. So like usually you have to like press down to select something, but you also need to press down to move. And sometimes if you want to select something, it moves at the same time and you end up selecting the wrong thing, which isn't great when you're trying to hack into things and you have to match the patterns up. So that was a bit of a nightmare. You have to time it really well and you have to get it like the press spot on. But generally, it seems really well done. I didn't really get... I could only play for about 2 hours. I had a little bit of a headache though. So I don't know, like I don't really feel sick. So I don't know if that was motion sickness or just a headache. But I did kind of feel that I couldn't play it for too long, unlike some other games. But it does have the option to change the degree of like camera snap, which helped a little bit. But it seems really well done, and it's basically the same game, just exactly in VR. And everything is kind of interactive using your controllers. So
you are playing that with your Oculus controllers then?
Yes, yeah.
Because I've just seen somebody playing that in VR and still using a controller. Okay.
So I kind of preferred using the Oculus controllers because when you're playing in the game in VR, you can turn around and reach out for things. Whereas obviously with a controller, you're just kind of just pressing buttons and it doesn't feel quite as interactive. As so you directly.
How about movement? It's only locomotion, I guess. Also, locomotion is the thing where you press the analog stick and then it pulls the floor.
So there's no option to kind of like jump forwards to a specific place. It is just you move forward, you move backwards, you move left, you move right.
Sliding, normal sliding motion.
Yeah.
How about like crouch and leaning around corners? Because that's a key thing in Alien Isolation, where you have to hide all the time.
Yeah, I mean the crouch. It doesn't, like if you crouch, it doesn't make any difference. But so it doesn't. So if you crouch, like your field of view will look like you're hiding behind something, but because the game hasn't registered that you're crouched because you haven't pressed the crouch button, you get seen, which which I discovered a couple of times.
Ah.
So you still have to essentially press a button to crouch properly in the game. But like looking around corners, if you actually like move and look around the corners, you don't get seen, which is really strange because like you're looking around and you're looking directly at someone and they just don't see you.
Okay, so there's probably a center of your VR space where the game thinks that's the position of your character all the time, no matter where you move and how you move. So crouching is not registered, looking around corners is not registered. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, there probably is a button to like physically move the character position to look around corners, but I mean, when you're in VR, you don't need it. So
yeah, also that's one of the things that make you motion sick. If there is movement with your eyesight, that's not happening by your head doing those.
Moving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are the things that make people motion sick mostly. So tracking wise, it's a little bit tricky, I see, but you said it's well done. So all the other things must be very good then.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I don't know. It just seems to work really well. Once you configure the controls a little bit.
Yeah, controls
so
are
overlapping.
Very important.
Yeah.
So the feeling of an alien chasing you. Did you play to the part where you had to hide from the alien, or is that the part where you stopped playing it in VR?
I found myself, because you feel exposed. I found myself going to like dark corners a lot to try and hide.
Mm-hmm.
But even then, like I did get spotted by the alien once, and I just kind of it was coming up behind me, so I just like crouched and hid in this corner while it devoured me from behind. Yeah, it was a terrifying experience because you can hear it and you can almost like sense that it's right there behind you.
Sounds like a good immersive experience, yes.
Sadly, yeah.
Would you recommend it?
I mean, if you like horror games, if you like being scared, then absolutely go for it. But if you're not into scary games,
I think I need to try
and avoid it.
So don't bother.
I think I have to try that at one point.
Unless you want to give yourself a heart attack, of course.
I mean, if you are going to play Half-Life Alyx, there are also some parts that can be scary. I was surprised how scary Half-Life Alyx is, in fact, because I thought they wanted to make it as approachable to as many people as possible. But with those scary moments from time to time, oof.
Yeah, there's mostly the head crabs.
No spoilers, yeah.
Crabs. That's all I'm going to say. Mostly the head crabs. Everybody knows there's head crabs in Half-Life Alyx. Everybody knows
that. That's one thing that does make me nervous about playing Half-Life Alyx. Is the scary parts, because I know there are scary parts. I remember playing Half-Life when I was growing up. I played it when I was pretty young, as a kid, and it was terrifying. I was terrified at that game.
Yeah.
So I know it can be scary.
Yeah, it totally can be.
One of the things that I think really sets Half-Life Alyx apart from the other games, or from the other Half-Life series specifically, is that it has that physicality. But if you're used to playing the flat Half-Life games, at least for me, like my brain wasn't I'm in VR mode. I'm playing a Half-Life game mode. So like reaching out to grab that head crab as it's launching itself at you was not an instinct that I had. It's run, get out of the way.
I don't know if I even managed to do that once. Isn't there an achievement if you manage to grab that, but like, a head crab?
I think for anyone that's used to playing classic first-person shooters that are flat, though, like that additional physicality to specifically Half-Life Alyx, it adds so much to it that you don't even pay attention to until you realize you can do it.
Yeah, of course, because you can't use your hands when controlling your character with WASD and aiming with your mouse. You don't have a hand to grab something. In the pancake version, that doesn't work at all. Of course.
Yeah. And I don't want to spoil or anything since Saphira hasn't played it yet. But one of the first things that you can do once you get in there is crush a can. And that was like the most like I'm playing. Yeah, I can crush this can.
Does that work with all controllers in the meantime? Because I think that was a special feature for the index controllers.
Is it a special one for the index? It would be really sad if you couldn't crush cans with the Oculus controller because you still have the grip. You still have the grip.
I don't know. I think it was like you can grab them, but if you can crush them as well, I don't know. Maybe that's only something for the index controller.
I'll test it and find out.
If you have the index controllers, at least guaranteed. If you have the index controllers, you can grab the can and then you squeeze the controller and you can crush it. I'll bet they left it in for Oculus users, but it's just like a grab and a smush thing.
But
it
that's
doesn't
only
work with
minor.
every can either. So
that's a minor issue. Everything else works well with with other controllers as well.
Yeah, but that's all I was saying though. Like you don't realize a lot of the physicality that you can do in that game because it's part of a series that you're used to being less interactive.
You were trained to not do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but as we are talking about modding games, and that's also part of our show notes, I want to talk a little bit about the GTFO VR mod. We have been talking about that the last cast already, that it was released. And the special thing about that mod is that it has full tracked controllers. And there are some things that this mod does right. So I've played GTFO in Pancake version a lot, like more than 200 hours for sure, if not even 300 hours. And I had a little bit of technical issues to get that running on Linux because it's a Wine compatibility needed there to make it run for me. The game itself runs well. It has like a Proton, on ProtonDB, a platinum rating. So it's like hit, install, and play. That's not an issue, but getting the mod to work is a little bit more tricky. If you follow the instructions on the GitHub page of that mod, it should work, but there's one setting that confused me. I mean, it took me a while to figure out, but there's one setting where I would expect that it would work with that setting, and that's launch the game in Pancake mode if SteamVR is not running. And that was set to yes. But for me, to make it running, I have to set it to no. Because apparently, the mod doesn't detect that SteamVR is running. So I have to alter that from true to false, and then it does launch in VR. So I could play that. And the good things that the game is doing there, that's just an issue for Linux users, not for Windows users, that it works out of the box, I guess. And the good things that this mod is doing is it doesn't mess around with shaking your camera. All the shakiness is completely taken out. So GTFO is a 4-player co-op game where it starts with you being in a stasis pod. And that stasis pod is then brought to like a crane or so where 4 people are attached. And then they are dropped down into the cave where the game is then happening. And when you play that in Pancake mode, the can is shaking all the time because you're moving, your character is in that pod being moved and stuff. And especially if you fall down, all the thing is shaking. That's not happening in VR. Because if that would shake in VR, you would get motion sick like instant when you start the game.
Yeah.
So that's done very well. When you are playing the game, and so it does pick up on your body crouching, so you can set the height at when it should detect that you are crouched, because there's a difference in the game if you are walking or crouching, because the enemies in the game, they are mostly sleeping and you have to sneak up on them. But if you're crouching, then you make less noise and then you can move more easily. But if you're not crouching, they hear your steps and wake up, and etc. So crouching is also an essential part in that game. But it does detect that. You can set the height, and when you're below the height, it detects you're being crouched, but you can also press a button. Also, when you die, if you mess up and the enemies are waking up and they kill you, if you die, normally in Pancake mode, you're falling to the side and your head is tilted then. That's not happening in the VR version because that would totally mess up your orientation and stuff, and you would get even sick. No, you're standing in the same position. You just know you're down now because you cannot move anymore. Your hammer is gone, which is your melee weapon in the game. And those are the little details that make this mod awesome to play without getting motion sick. And as I said, I'm sensitive to getting motion sick. In this game, I played that, for example, yesterday for 5 hours. And I didn't get motion sick, and it only supports locomotion. So you only can move with the analog stick. But walking stairs, walking those.
I have a hard time doing 5 hours in Township Tale. And that's native VR.
Yeah. It's impressive how well this mod is done. I can totally recommend it if you like to play GTFO and have a VR headset. So that's so well done. Also, the other things, as I said, it has full controller tracking. So you have your hammer in your right hand, and you have a watch where you can look your stats, like how many ammunition you have still left, how many health you have left. You can then click a button to alter its display so you can see the objective, what you have to do in the game. Because normally it's always in the corner there, but in VR you don't have a permanent overlay. Then the weapon handling is well done. For example, because shooting in VR is always tricky, or throwing things in VR. Have you tried to throw a ball in VR? Like basketball or so? That's it's like you have to relearn throwing things in VR. Like opening your hand or pressing the button, that's not really working well in VR.
It's this motion. That's the throw right there.
How to throw things with a controller. So in Phasmophobia, which has a VR mod, there is in the starting room, there is a little where you can throw a basketball in, a little basket. It's tricky. It's totally tricky to throw that ball in there. And in GTFO, for the weapons, they have a laser pointer, which makes it a little bit easier than in Pancake to shoot enemies, I think. But as you have all the other handicaps then, I think it's a fair trade-off. So you have a laser pointer and can shoot precisely. You can also, the game does detect that if you have a big weapon, you can use it with 2 hands and even aim, if you like. That's done very well. And for the hammer, it's a little bit tricky, but you have to press the trigger button to charge it. And in Pancake version, you just press the left mouse click to charge it, and then you aim, you have a crosshair there, and then you release it, and it's swinging automatically. That does not work the same way in VR. There you do have to press the trigger button to make it charge, but when you release it, you still have to swing the hammer yourself. And that makes it pretty immersive. And yesterday, I was a little bit handicapped when I was trying to hammer the bigger guys. So I was handicapped with my shoulders because I couldn't move my arms up. And trying then to hammer the big guys, it's a little bit tricky. But it does work.
Like a T-Rex with a ball-peen hammer.
Kind of. So I can totally recommend this VR mod and the techniques it uses to make VR as an additional mode for an existing game enjoyable. And I think that's how, if there is any game doing that, or if there's any modders out there doing that, they should have a look at this mod, how it's done. So take out all the shakiness. Do not mess around with the camera, that the player is not moving when the player is not moving the camera. All those things are very important to make it enjoyable. And this mod does it very, very well. Highly recommend it. So
what do we give on this show? We don't give thumbs up. We haven't come up with anything to give things ratings yet. So
awards?
we get 108 degrees.
What?
It's 108 degrees Fahrenheit. Yeah, I'm American. I'm sorry. Fever, temperature. Never mind.
Oh, I get it. That took a long time.
How
Sorry.
many degrees over 98.6? I don't know what it is
Mhm.
in normal numbers.
So, did you, Cypher? What have you been playing in the last 2 weeks?
Well, I've been playing a lot of Build Studio. That's a fun game. Play that in
Mhm.
real life with wood and nails and screws and drywall and insulation and stuff. Other than that, I finally stuck my head back into my VR headset because I was kind of punishing myself. Like, no, you can't play VR until you finish the studio. Bad idea. I don't recommend doing that. So I finally let myself back into VR, and I tried a few games that were on my list. One of them was Boombox. The gameplay is very similar to Beat Saber, except that you're hitting drum. There's drum pads that are in the play field, and sometimes they're upside down, but they're always facing kind of toward the middle of the play field. And you play it very much like you're hitting drums. Some of the mapping in it feels very similar to Beat Saber. I mean, it's essentially a Beat Saber clone with a different skin, kind of, sort of. The gameplay is similar enough where I feel comfortable saying that it's similar enough to Beat Saber that I would say it's kind of sort of a clone.
Beat Saber with resets, huh?
No, not Beat Saber with resets. That's Ragnarok.
I thought Boombox would be equally.
No, Ragnarok is only down strikes.
Yeah.
Boombox is also up strikes and side strikes.
But not all the time, right? It's sometimes there are up strikes, but mostly also down. But I haven't played it.
I don't know. The maps that I tried, it was all up and downs, kind of doing the regular drumming motions to down and up.
It's a good variety.
It was interesting. I liked it well enough, but I think I like Beat Saber over Boombox in my personal opinion. I tried what is it? Rhythm Gunner? Groove Gunner. Groove Gunner I really enjoyed. I've played Audica. Audica was okay. I think there's way too much going on in Audica for my brain personally. I played it for a little bit, didn't really like it, but Groove Gunner kept the two mechanics that were in Audica that I really liked, and that was just the shooting, and it's basically audio shield plus guns, because you got the little shield things on the back of your hands. So you've got orbs can come at you, and you're blocking them with your fists, and you can kind of punch them and stuff. And then there's also the note grid that comes in that you have to shoot different hexagons that come up. You have to shoot them accurately. And I found that to be a lot more enjoyable than Audica personally, because it was simpler.
and there's one special thing about Groove Gunner. It does have a native Linux version.
Oh, it has a native Linux version. That's cool.
For those who are interested in that, everything else in VR, mostly except Half-Life Alyx, have to play through Proton. But Groove Gunner, the devs are pretty cool. It does have a native version. Oh, that's cool.
No, I really enjoyed Groove Gunner, and I can see coming back to that one in the future. Just because, like, I think when it comes to some of the rhythm games, they're trying to get more complicated now, but you can't complicate rhythm games. I mean, it hits with some people, but for the most part, I think more rhythm games need to be simple.
Yeah, well, it depends on the mappings, I guess. I mean, there have been now released
you can get complicated, but I mean, the actual gameplay mechanics themselves, like your core mechanics, should, in my opinion, stay simple. Don't
easy to learn, hard to master.
Went 1 degree too far, in my opinion. But yeah, that's pretty much what I've been playing. I tried one other thing. What was it? Games list real quick. It was I don't know.
That's a good game.
If I remember what it was, it was something that was okay.
Oh, good. Oh, did you try this new rhythm game where there's only the demo available? How's that called again?
Oh, yeah, that one. That's the other one. And that's why it didn't stick with me, because it only has the one level. Against. It's called
Against, yeah. Which tries...
Toge. Have you seen Toge VR's video on that?
Oh, there are several ones. Zenon has made one. Toge has made one. There are
I
several
was just
available.
blown away by Toge's in particular. I was just looking at that going, oh my god, production quality on his stuff is amazing.
Well,
Not
the
to
one
say that everyone else's isn't good, but Toge is super focused.
Yeah, I've
It's
seen
awesome.
Zoannon's version where he is switching between first person and the mixed reality view. At certain points where I think you can jump at some points, and then he's like jumping, reaching the roof, and then it's going into first person. So that's very well
cool.
done.
I'll have to see that cut. That sounds really good.
Mm. Yeah, Togi has a special setup because he's using Liv for those setups, of course, where he has the tracker on his camera, and then somebody can move around. He has like his whole room there, or his studio is completely a green screen, and then he can move around there at different angles from front to back and stuff, and mix that all together. So I think he has to record it several times, the same level, but then get that from different angles and cut that together. But yeah, he is showing himself from the front, from back, moving around with the camera, different angles at the same time. That's so crazy to see. You need a special setup for that. So for us at home doing that,
it's a very expensive. He has some very expensive equipment to make that work.
Very tricky. But yeah, Against is the new upcoming game, which tries to kind of unify several techniques that rhythm-based games have brought up into one game. So it's interesting to see what's coming up there. I think Pistol Whip was meant to be, or was claimed to be the John Wick kind of game, like shooting, evading, and stuff. But Against might be the next level John Wick.
I don't.
From what I've read, I haven't played it yet.
Compared to like a specific movie or whatever, or genre, that kind of thing. I think Against has something a little bit different than Pistol Whip has, personally.
Yeah, sure.
Pistol Whip's really focused on just the rhythm and the shooting.
Yeah,
but
sure.
Against is kind of like an arcade experience, more akin to like the the reload shooters that you'd play at the arcade, where you got to step on the thing and you have the actual gun con controller and you're shooting stuff, like a rail shooter.
Rail shooter,
It feels more like a rail shooter with like tasks that you have to accomplish than it's a rail shooter where you're just shooting things.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. Have you played that yet, Zafira? Against?
No, it's on my wish list.
Oh, okay.
Well,
the demo,
really
there's a demo available, right? So with that single level, and there is no full game yet released, so as far as I know.
No, it's planned release date just says 2021.
Should be a demo downloaded on the right side of the Steam page if you're looking for it.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, it's a good demo, and I'm looking forward to seeing what else they do with that game.
Some things have been revealed in the last few weeks. For example, new hardware. We are going to see a new HMD, which HTC has revealed now. They have revealed even two. The HTC Vive Focus 3, which is their standalone headset, which is comparable probably to the Oculus Quest.
Which for some reason they're saying is their business sector headset, which makes no sense to me.
I have no idea. Maybe it's for arcades or so. I mean, there are arcades where you have big rooms where several people are inside, and there you can't play with the tethered one. You need wireless ones. So maybe it's that use case or so. Of course, customers can probably use that as well, as they do with the Oculus Quest 2. Depends on the battery, though. But a standalone headset without much setup from like base stations and stuff, it's easy to use. So it does have totally has some advantages there. But the one that personally I'm more interested in is the Vive Pro 2, which it's a little bit of a chameleon-like thingy. So it has all the advantages of the modern headsets. So it has lighthouse tracking, which is compatible to the previous one. So you can use it with SteamVR. I need to figure out if it's still working for me then. But what they didn't change is their controllers. They still have the Vive Vans for those. And I thought, I mean, even Oculus, even PlayStation, everybody changes their controllers from their initial ones.
Even look at the Focus 3 controllers. The Focus 3 controllers are like the Deca Gear and the Vive got together. Or not the Vive, the Deca Gear and the Index got together and said, hey, we're going to do something that looks kind of sort of like Quest 2 controller.
I don't know why they still go with the Vive Vans. I mean, they have been good initially, but everything evolved now, and it's like
they need to go. That design is bad.
They do have,
hands down, we've proven time and time again that design is just plain bad.
But as I said, it's SteamVR compatible, so you can totally use the Index controllers with that. So you can buy, like it has been possible with all those which is, I think, great, interchangeable items. So you can buy the Vive Pro 2, get the Lighthouse base stations from Valve and use their knuckles, for example. And that's pretty cool. So you can get the best out of both worlds, or the worlds that are there in VR, and buy only the headset, for example, but then get the controllers from somewhere else if you don't like to have the Vive Vans. The only reason, for example, I still have the Vive Vans, the Pro Vans, is there are still games that are optimized for those and have never been upgraded.
It's my opinion that, like, functionality-wise, you got something like this, right? The Quest 2 controller. This should be your basic design, right? You got a grip, you got a trigger, you got a couple of buttons, good to go. And then this should be your advanced. You have full finger motion, blah blah blah. That's it. Those are the only two designs that we need.
Yeah, I don't know.
And then we can move on to the gloves or whatever. But like, why do they keep changing things?
They didn't change. That's the issue.
Yeah, they didn't. That's the problem.
They should have changed.
Well, like, new companies come out and they try and like re-innovate. Like, oh, we're going to do something quirky and slightly different. And no, stop. We know it works already.
It's strange that they still stick to those. I mean, it's okay. But as I said, there are still games, because it has been the first wave of consumer headsets and consumer controllers. So a lot of games are still optimized just for those. There is this game I played, the Solus Project, which does have an additional VR mod. But there you can more or less play it only with the Vive Vans. It's not possible to play it with the Index controllers because the angles are weird and you cannot adjust them. And okay, there is still a reason to have those, but all new games are optimized, and the new games still have then to support the old ones. They still have to support the old controllers because people can still buy them. And that's like, yeah, I don't know. But yeah, this is very strange. I'm looking forward to the details. I mean, the details have been revealed. But I'm looking forward.
Battery.
Yeah, no worries. The details about the Pro 2 are interesting. So it does have a 5K resolution, for example, which is a higher resolution than the Index then has, I guess.
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
My battery died.
Saw that.
Well, at least you can change them. I would have to attach a cable. This has integrated batteries, and if they die, this headset is or the headphones here are so stupid. If I attach an external power supply, it turns off.
Oof. Yeah, this has like a little unit that you can just put the battery in to charge. You just quickly swap it out. Great.
Convenient.
Great technology shown on Vodcast. Yeah, but back to the Vive Pro 2. So I am, if I know it would work on Linux, I think it will, because the Vive Pro does. I'm even interested in that device, because just for having a comparison between if the Index is still the superior headset, then at least for me, I don't have that many comparable devices, so I cannot compare to the Oculus Quest 2, for example. I just hear it's great, but I cannot compare myself because it's not running for me if I wouldn't use it standalone. But the Vive Pro 2, that might be an interesting device then. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to. I'm kind of persevering and waiting until it comes out before I consider saving up for it. But it's kind of frustrating that if you don't already have the base stations and controllers, there isn't like you can only buy the headset itself. You can't buy like the headset with controllers, which seems a little strange. Like it's just like if you don't know that, then like people are just going to buy the headset and then not realize that it doesn't come with anything else.
I think it's meant for upgrades.
You have to actually,
kind of
so that's
like banked it that way from the beginning.
Yeah, so it's like unless you know about it, you're not going to know to kind of go to look for either the index controllers or.
I think they mentioned that they are going to bring a bundle where you can buy all things at once again, just for now, as they did also with the Index, I think, where it was also meant like an upgrade kit for people having the HTC Vive already. And that's why it's pretty cool, because those are interchangeable and still work together. Even though you have the modern headset, which can support Steam VR tracking 2.0, it still works with the 1.0 tracking. And that's probably the same for the Pro 2. So you can upgrade, and that's why only buy the headset.
Why doesn't it have eye tracking? Why didn't they include eye tracking in the Pro 2?
Because they've got a separate device for it now, and they want to sell that instead, I guess.
No, that's the mouth tracker. The eye tracking has to be built into
the actual eye
headset.
tracking.
Yeah, like why? That was the next step, and they skipped it.
Yeah, no idea.
Maybe it pushed the cost too high.
Probably.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like two extra cameras. Yeah, that would probably do it, depending on what kind of cameras you have to do for that, because it's like macro lenses.
Must be quite difficult to make.
Yeah, I'm kind of interested in that device to like upgrade my original Vive one, because I am, to be honest, too lazy to always detach my Index from the living room setup and bring it up to the desktop setup up here.
It's a process. There's a few points
there. We know that the Index cable doesn't like to be bent around too much, and I have my second Index cable already because I had this issue with the flashy pixels and the audio cutting out, and I've heard other people where it was even worse, that even the vision is black for a moment. So yeah, that cable, I think the is that the coating or the shielding or whatever, something is breaking, and then it can
shielding,
shielding, and then it can pick up like disturbance radiation or whatever.
Yeah, it's probably just picking up some electromagnetic ambient blah 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 something.
Yeah, and then you can see the flashy pixels, and this is
sciencey words.
We make them up as we need them.
That's what scientists do as well, so it's fine.
But there it sounds more professional than when we do it.
Well, they just lean on Latin.
Yeah.
What do we call this thing? I don't know. What do Latin people call it? Okay, here we go. We got prefix, a suffix, and 6 more suffixes. We'll just slap them together and call it that.
Yeah.
We have a randomizer for that. You can click a button to randomize. Yeah, but the cable is kind of fragile, and that's why I'm thinking about getting an upgrade. And when I just need to upgrade the HMD without base stations and controllers, that's not a bad deal. But yeah, so Saphira, you said you want to wait until it's released and then maybe save up for that.
Yeah.
Why the HTC Vive Pro and not the Index?
Because I want to be able to compare them. Like, I instinctively want to get the Index, but I feel like it's worth just waiting just to see how well
this year's Ferrari when you can get next year's Ferrari.
The real advantage over the Index might be that the HTC Vive Pro will have OLED again instead of LCD panels. I mean, it's not really an issue, I think, but if you are paying attention to it, it's noticeable. So the black values on the Index aren't as black as they are on the HTC Vive devices. And Vive Pro 2 is LCD as well, Oh, okay, then there is no advantage over that. What? Why? Oh, that's interesting. Okay, just read in chat that it's LCD. Oof. Okay, then, that's too bad. I was hoping that it would have OLED as well. Yeah, but still. It does have the higher resolution, 5K. That's an advantage, at least. Let's hope they have good headphones and a good microphone, because the microphone of the Index, there you don't need the mod mic anymore. Then you can use the HMD microphone. And
I still have a mod mic mount on my Index.
I removed mine again. I used that for like 2 days, and then I was able to get it to run, and then I removed it again, and I attached it to here. Yeah, okay. That's so much about the hardware there. I think, I don't know, the Focus 3, the standalone headset, will be probably mostly sold to business business people.
Like I said, the goofy thing is that so they're marketing it as a business device, but if you look at the feature set on it, it's competing nearly directly with the Quest 2. They're marketing it as a business device. I'm not following what their line of thinking is on it, but it's inside out tracking. It's standalone. It's probably going to be running off Vive port, I would imagine. So it's essentially Vive's Quest, but they're calling it a business.
Yeah. I was really confused when they were announcing it. Couldn't figure out why they were doing it this way.
I kind of want to talk to their marketing people and be like, hey guys, you want to talk to us and figure out what you're doing weird? Because you're not doing anything wrong. You're just doing weird stuff.
Yeah, that's really strange.
Maybe there's a hidden agenda that we don't know about.
Well, it's like the Cosmos. I thought the Cosmos was a fantastic idea, and they killed it with that flip up front. It would have been an amazing headset if that one feature had just been fixed. Honestly, like, it supported wireless. The display on it was great. Biggest disappointment, in my opinion, from Vive. But we'll see what they have in the future with the Focus 3 in the business sector.
Yeah, but there have not only been hardware announcements, but also some game announcements. So did you see that? I just read about that, and I found it interesting. Because
I saw Demio, but what's Larcenauts?
Larcenauts, if that's, or Larkenauts, I don't know, Larcenauts. That's announced, and what I find interesting about it, it's a hero shooter, which is like Overwatch in VR then. And I've just seen some videos about that, where you are using a grappling hook and jump around in the level. And I have no idea if they can make it like people don't have to puke all the time. How should that work? I don't know if that works in VR, to be honest, but that's what I found interesting about it. Have you heard about that?
Well, I mean, have you seen Grapple Tournament? The whole game is based off of
I've not seen
swinging motion mechanics.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Does it work well?
Grapple Tournament. There's also another new game coming out. It's gained a lot of popularity. It's on Quest 2. It's on I think it's on it was on SideQuest, and they moved it to the Lab Store, and it's also available on Steam, if I'm not mistaken. I haven't played it personally, but I know seriously has played quite a lot of it.
Okay. No,
Saphira, have you heard of it?
No, I'm just looking at the page now. I've never heard of it.
More interested.
Yeah, I can't really see
rhythm games and story games, or are you looking maybe to dabble in some of the faster stuff?
I'm mainly a story game person, but also rhythm games. But yeah, I mean, I can't see how that game would work in VR.
That's why I found it interesting, yeah.
It's strange what does and doesn't trigger people's motion sickness, too. Because I was developing a drone simulator a while back, and we had a bunch of people try it at a convention. And to my surprise, nobody puked. Not a single person.
Yeah, well, I have to admit, I'm not puking when getting motion sick, but you just feel uncomfortable as hell.
But what I mean is, like, when they got up, I'm like, so how do you feel after? They're like, I'm fine. Like, I'm really surprised. I'm fine. Like, just because I guess because the main difference is that I didn't have the head pinned to the drone. So, like, wherever the drone would fly, you could still kind of move your head relative to it a little bit, and that helped a lot.
Yeah, you need to be able to move your head freely. So yeah, forced movement for your vision, that's a killer, I guess. Yeah, maybe they're doing it right. Also, Larsenauts will be on Steam. It will be on Oculus Store as well, as far as I know. Yeah,
visually, it looks a lot like they took Overwatch and Battleborn and smashed them together.
Maybe. I don't know. It will be interesting to see how that, when that gets released, how people are playing that. Another game.
I imagine it's going to need a lot of people as well to play because it's 6v6.
Yeah,
which is actually quite big for groups because it's so, like, if not enough people are playing, you could be waiting a while for a match.
Yeah, we have a little bit.
Have any bots to fill spots in the meantime?
We have that problem a little bit with Tower Tag, I guess, because Tower Tag is also a multiplayer shooter, and if you don't have enough people to play that, you have to wait in the lobbies for quite a while. It depends on the daytime if you find a lobby or not, and those multiplayer-only shooters, it's a little bit tricky. I mean, you can fill it up with bots, but that's, of course, something different.
Yeah, maybe it'd be better now. A lot more people are getting headsets, so wait and see.
True.
Yeah, that's the.
I think bots are really important, though.
Positive effect of the pandemic. People are getting more tech stuff like VR headsets. Huh?
Like when the quote-unquote golden age of first-person shooter gaming first came up with, like, you know, Quake and Half-Life and the original shooters like that had... Oh, no, brain, don't do this to me right now. I had a thought. It just completely just went by. Okay, sorry about that. Anyway, let's continue. I had something, but it's gone now.
Yeah, the other game I was seeing was Demeo, which is released already. And that's a round-based dungeon crawler in VR.
Talk about this.
And this is like a tabletop game.
Right, yeah.
I mean,
it looks a lot like a Hero Quest, like classic tabletop Hero Quest. It's a big board, and you take it out of the box, and you put all the pieces and stuff on it. It looks just like that.
So why I brought these two games up is, like, it's interesting to see which kind of games are coming to VR. I mean, everything has been made already for Pancake, but apparently not really done for VR yet. And then you get, okay, we have this game idea, let's port it into VR and let's see if that works. And I don't know if there's a hero shooter like Overwatch already in VR. I haven't seen any. So Larkenauts will be probably the first.
Yeah, I think Larkenauts is the first.
And I mean, you can play the tabletop simulator in VR. But that's it's not.
I don't consider that playable.
Have you tried it?
Yes, I have. The
okay,
controls are awful.
Oh, okay. Yeah, then this kind of game will be then the first proper made tabletop thingy game.
Yeah, I think that tabletop simulator would see a lot more use if they fixed the VR controls.
Ooh.
Honestly, they're rough.
Are you flipping the table too easily? In VR? What's happening?
It's too easy to grab things by accident, and like it's kind of like it's more of a sandbox program than an actual this is the game you're playing. It's more like a digital assistant to not physically having the things you need to play the game.
Yeah,
I would describe that.
It totally depends on modding, like custom made versions of games for tabletop simulator. I don't even know if they have their own real game with it, or if it's mostly just mods from the community or maps from games from the community even. I've never really played that. I can't tell. But yeah, it's nice to have those games, because there are things in VR that have not really been tested yet. And that's one topic I want to talk about. That's workspaces in VR. Have you thought about that? Instead of looking at a monitor, having all your screens that you need like arranged in VR and looking to them? Would that be something that you're interested in, or does that like put you off at all?
I think
Especially
I've
in your line of
considered
research.
trying, but I just haven't yet. I'm not sure. I don't know how, like, if it would make much difference from just standard looking at a monitor.
Is it is an electron microscope? Isn't that kind of inherently stereo imaging? I mean, isn't it like depth imaging at a super tiny level?
I'm not sure what you mean, but it uses detectors, electron detectors, to kind of
seems like
map the signals that come through.
Right. So that could maybe be translated into like a 3D model, and then you could like move it around with your hands and stuff in VR, so you can.
Yeah. I mean,
you
can look at like protein structures in VR already, so you can like move it around and like have a closer look at a protein structure to kind of, I don't know, figure out a target of interest. If there's a particular part of the protein you want to target, or I mean, we can see all that on the monitor, but understanding depth is an issue. So I guess VR can help with that as well. So like you can see there's probably like a gap here, but how big that gap is, or how much space is in that gap, you can't really tell from looking at a monitor screen. Whereas I guess in VR, you'd be able to actually see that a lot clearer.
So the only thing where I was experiencing something that's similar to working in VR is a software that's called XR Desktop, where you can have all your desktop windows shown in VR. And you can arrange them on your own if you like to, but you can also let them auto-arrange. And the advantage of that is you just have more windows to look at more or less the same time effortlessly. You can just move your head and look at that window. I have not used that in a productive way yet. It's just for me to get windows in VR, like chat when streaming or so, just that single window, place it somewhere so it's always prominent there. But using that as a workspace, I mean, in the current situation where a lot of people are doing home office and stuff, but are lacking their working environment or so, maybe it's something that might be appealing in the near future, even, especially if those headsets are becoming better or getting better and better with their resolution. So you don't have the screen door effect anymore. You can clearly read what's on a window that's like a meter or 2 meters away. So I think it's an interesting way, but you would have to be able to see your hands, because you need physical feedback there. How can you type on a keyboard where you don't have tactile feedback? I can type with 10 fingers, but I need with my 2 index finger to feel the 2 knobs on the keyboards, so I know where to place it. And
I suspect some of the future XR technology is going to be a lot more useful in research than VR is, just because it's so like
AR, VR in a combination, and I think that's why they have all the cameras on the headsets right now. I think that's with that we can get started, but nobody really has done it yet. I think, at least not that I've heard of something. I don't know. So the link you have sent me there, Cypher, the Stimula VR thing, I was looking into that, but the project is already it's a little bit dated. I don't know how much it got updated recently, but that is meant to replace your workspace, your physical workspace, for a VR workspace. And they have the feature where you can turn on the camera to look at your keyboard, so you know where your fingers are, your mouse is, etc. So you can't touch the things. So I think it could be interesting, but it's something that we are not used to at all. We are getting used to playing games in VR, But seriously, working in VR, especially if you have a headset then on your head for like 8 hours or so, because that's your normal shift you're working.
Even trying to right now, developing in VR is kind of a pain too, because you're constantly taking it off, put it back, take it off, put it back, take it off, put it back, take it off, put it back. It's just this constant dance of where do I put the headset? Okay, I tested a thing, now I got to, and it would be really nice if you could just leave it on, but it gets so hot, sweaty, and warm, and like you're just standing there staring at code, and you don't want to have a helmet on while you're doing that. It's just uncomfortable.
So
nice to see in the future.
where I have seen of being VR being used in a like not it is productive, but it's more the art style of production where people are like painting 3D sculptures in VR.
Yeah.
But that's a different kind of work. It's not the like screen work that most of us are doing, I guess. So that's something else.
Data and communications work.
I mean, if you remember, have you seen the Matrix movies? I mean, that's what they have been doing in the second and third movie. They were in the Matrix and have a virtual setup where they were touching and doing this stuff. So
I caught a interview with Gabe Newell a couple of days ago. I think that was published back in last October, I think, or maybe it was October 2019 or something like that, where he's talking about current state of virtual reality. And yeah, we've got all this other stuff, but eventually we're just going to plug a thing into the back of our head. I'm going, Gabe, buddy.
That didn't turn out well last time, at least not in the movie.
Yeah, so that's where Gabe Newell seems to want to push the direction of VR and interactive technology, and we're going to see a lot of symbiosis start to happen. Like we have Neuralink already, which is going to be helping at the advent of it, paraplegics and people that have, damage to their bodies. But I think eventually it's going to end up being a cosmetic thing also, where, I got my N-Link and now I can talk to my, my wrist, which is because we don't need phones anymore. You just got a screen attached to your wrist or whatever, or something like that.
Yeah, but what do you think about working in VR for like 8 hours? And put aside that we are just not used to it yet, but in general.
Actually working in VR.
I don't think I could do it for that long.
No.
I mean, I think a wireless headset would be a necessity because you need to stand up from time to time.
Oh god, you wouldn't be able to sit there for 8 hours.
But then always bothering with the cable, etc. So you would like need to be able to put it off easily without a strap, maybe, or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, I think everything's a little bit too bulky at the moment to make it a comfortable experience for over 8 hours.
Yeah.
I mean, there are crazy people who play VR for several hours, but playing and being productive, that's...
Yeah, that's so different.
You did prefix that sentence with crazy people.
Yeah, crazy is... you know what I mean.
Yeah, that might be me.
5 hours yesterday.
Yeah. Get sweaty in that helmet the whole day. But it seems like doing data work and anything that's like communications and data related is going to be a little bit less desirable when you're in VR headset, unless you've got some kind of like visual data that you're working with and manipulating, or something that's physically interactive. I think I just don't see it becoming normal workplace stuff until we have that lightweight stuff, like just the visor that's all your monitors in front of you.
Where I think it could be really something that could replace other work is where people can't go physically. So if you are remote controlling robots or so, and have their view in your headset. So you could operate a robot maybe undersea or in a mining environment or so, where real people don't want to go, don't have to go, whatever, where it's too dangerous or so. But there, if you can work with the VR headset and see what the robots are seeing, and you control them. I could imagine that is a use case for that.
Yeah,
But
I'm sure
but for us
there's a lot of them,
screen
but like
workers,
we're just thinking. I think the average most people probably are in some kind of office, right? Like we're mostly manipulating data, or you're in a warehouse environment. I guess a warehouse environment might get kind of interesting because you've got those exosuits they had in Alien. The big front loaders because we actually have those things now, those big exosuits that pick up giant boxes and stuff. But what if you had a warehouse that stocked, I don't know, ships the size of the one that got stuck in the Suez Canal? Like giant machinery, and maybe I'm thinking a little too far into the sci-fi future, but like I can see a lot of interesting applications of them in work places, just not necessarily maybe we're thinking as far as like office work and everyday, like I don't know, like McDonald's, for example, a fast food place or whatever. Not sponsored by McDonald's
yet. McDonald's is FeVR food for streamers. No.
I'm good on that one.
Okay. Not too bad. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Right on. Anything else you want to add? Do we have something to talk about more? Otherwise, I think we can come to an end. And the end does include to point out all our social links. So DrSaphira is available on Twitter under @DrSaphira. On Twitch, which is also DrSaphira. Make sure to check out her channel. She's playing mixed reality VR. And sometimes modded Alien Isolation, maybe.
Follow, yeah. Subscribe.
And also available on Instagram, I've seen, at DrSaphira. So consistent naming scheme there. That's nice to see. We have
when you earn your title, everything after that doctor becomes available.
Well, I wanted Saphira, but that was already taken. So yeah, I'll just put the doctor in front instead.
That's even better, though.
That's really perfect. Our co-host Cypher is available at Cypher Orion on Twitter and Cypher Orion on Twitch. I didn't see that you have a Instagram.
I have a YouTube.
You have a YouTube? Also Cypher Orion? Or did you? I need that link to put it into the show notes then.
I have one of the old school links, like one of the super old school links. Hold on one second. Was it users / user?
C, I guess. For
/C.
Maybe?
No, it's /user /Cypher Orion. Like that's how old this account is.
All right, so you have to put that into the show notes as well. And you can follow all things FeVR on Twitch. We have the Team FeVR. You can follow all the FeVR streamers on twitch.tv/team/FeVR and FeVR.gg, which is our homepage.
Just easier.
We have Twitter @TeamFeVR, and we have a YouTube link where we don't have that fancy user thing yet, and that will be put in the show notes, and you can find it there. What we didn't talk about is the FeVR Awards. Why did that get pushed so far down there? We will talk about that next time, I think.
Yeah, no, there's no point in talking about it next time because it will have been done.
Oh, then we can recap.
Yeah. So yeah, FeVR Awards. I'm going to be finishing up the the voting forms today. So we will be doing voting on the FeVR Awards in the next 6 days. So be sure to keep an eye on FeVR.gg/awards. We'll have that form thrown up there in the next few hours. And we will be having the awards ceremony on the 24th? What?
We have a date.
24th, yeah, Monday.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. It is the FeVR anniversary it'll be our 1-year anniversary. We've been a team in an organization together, and we want to celebrate with a big, huge award ceremony and some fun pre-recorded content and some sponsors, and don't miss it.
Nice.
FeVR.gp.
Good to know. Good to know. Yeah, right on. Thanks so much for co-hosting Cypher and being our guest today, Dr. Saphira. Thank you so much. I hope you had as much fun as we had talking about all things VR.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I hope you had more fun
than we had. All right. Nevertheless, thanks so much for tuning in. See you all probably in 2 weeks. Have a good weekend. And until then, bye-bye.